For those who still ignore the importance of music in language learning, I think your experience will be interesting to hear.
Definitely.
Is it possible to start from scratch and learn concrete language skills through music?
Yes, it's definitely possible.
Right.
And I am a living testimony of that experience.
Right.
Because, you know, a lot of music has really helped me improve my English.
Right.
Because as you know, I'm not a native English speaker, but being exposed to different type of lyrics,
Right.
pronunciation, and how, you know, new expression, it has really sharpened the way I speak and even the way I pronounce some words.
Right. So how do you approach it concretely? Is it just about listening or finding a way to decipher the lyrics and analyzing the form and the contents?
Yeah, it's more than that. It's more than just listening. I believe it has steps. Okay.
Right.
Let's talk about a little bit about sound engineering, because
Right.
that's something I do a little bit.
Okay.
At first, when I was listening to music, I was just more focused on, like, you know, the taste of music.
Right.
But now I'm more focused on details, because I know how, like, you know, when this sound, I know what's happening here,
Right.
or and it's the same when it comes to learning. It has step. It'll get to a point where you move from listening to being focused on one specific expression that you saw,
Right.
and that you try to decipher it, and
Right.
you know the way that the word is pronounced, back with the emotion that even the artist is using to back it up.
Is it faithfully representative of real life pronunciation and real conversational use of words and expressions?
Yes, I think everybody has a different approach when it comes to music.
Right.
You know, and there's so many artists out there. We all have different tastes.
Right.
You just have to find your niche and the things that you like. Especially if you try to better your English in a specific content. I mean, there's a lot of artists out there that really speak about the things that you really like,
Right.
in order to improve your English. Because I believe that what is music and absolutely everything you do is all about the niche and the things that you have interest in.
Right.
And I believe that it also happens in music.
Right. We'll talk about particular genres, but
Yeah.
then, as in general, let's just compare music to actual speech.
Okay.
From your listening experience, is it harder to pick up accents, pronunciation, everything, in a song or in a real life speech?
One thing I noticed is that an artist does not necessarily sound like the way he's just talking when he's doing music.
Okay.
You know, so it's really hard to decipher the background of the artist, and
Right.
you know, because it's a lot of artists, you know, when they exposed to a certain type of music, they try to sound like it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so it's really difficult to know exactly where the artist is coming from, because I know artists from the United States that sound British, you know. So I mean, we can really be specific about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, one could tell that it would be worse for a non-native speaker to pick up words from a rap song.
That's
so I
right.
suppose that's where it gets harder.
Yeah.
When it's rapped, when it's,
Yeah.
I mean, singing, it's okay, kind of okay. We used to it, but when it's rapped, you know, they go faster and.
Yeah, I think there's one technique I used to do. At first, when I was listening to music, I used to put down the lyrics so that I can follow along with the artist.
Right.
And the more I get used to the same word again and again,
Right.
and I'm hearing it a different accent,
Right.
then now, like, you know, I don't even need the lyrics to decipher, to pick
Right.
out.
You
what
get
the
used over
lyrics-
time.
Yeah, you get used over
It's
time.
like what you're doing is like, at first it's some kind of passive listening.
Yeah.
You're just training your brain to manage and use the information.
Right.
Just by exposure, you first getting your brain to be exposed in contact with the language processing information, and over time, through active listening, listening with the transcripts, then you get trained to identify sounds, and over time you build this ability to recognize them. And the interesting thing about it is that it's still listening. So at the end of the day, it has a direct effect over your speaking.
Definitely. That's the part I wanted to get to. Because the more you expose yourself to something, and the more you're able to reproduce the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen and repeat. That's everything.
That's it. Listen and repeat.
Right.
But it takes also a lot of effort, especially when you're a grown person, because it's really, how much it's hard to teach grown up people. It's like you have to format the brain, start over again. But if it's a child, it's way much easier. But with
their experience, brain plasticity, it's easier for them to learn.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
Yeah, but it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible.
Okay.
Everything that you envision, you'll be able to put it in existence.
Right. Do we have additional benefits when it comes to memorization, for instance?
Yes, I think something that will be able to grasp my mind will be way much easier if I put it into a melody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it will stick. And the more I sing the melody, you know how much it's easier to remember a song.
Yeah.
Than if you just studying. There's a lot of songs that you remember that some family that you you don't even.
I remember back to high school. I used to, when I had to learn things by word, by heart.
Yeah. I
used to turn texts into melodies.
Right.
Sometimes I would rap them. Sometimes I would just sing them.
Yeah.
But then the simple fact of attaching a sound and melody to it,
a
tune, reminds me of all the details.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for memorization. And memorization is everything.
Yeah.
Your ability to use the vocabulary you learn is all about your ability to memorize things.
That's right.
When you learn, you first exposed to the information, then you have to understand and process it, then it goes through memorization, and the last stage that stamps the entire process is your ability to exteriorize what you've learned.
Yeah, I want to ask you this question.
Right.
For you, what's a place of music in your life? How do you view music?
Well, music is my number one hobby.
Okay.
Listening to music. I'm also an actor of music.
Yeah.
It's my way to serve in, church, and I've always been music. Early childhood, I've been loved with music. My father has been a choir leader for a long time.
Wow.
And brother and sisters singing around, my mother as well. So yeah, music is part of me. So now when it comes to language learning, it's true that it hasn't been the very thing that I've put forth. I had a different approach, but it still came in handy. Some of the songs that I also try to listen to and decipher the lyrics and everything. And I can tell that culturally and linguistically, you're gonna take a lot of stuff away.
So do you think music has a lot of beneficial teaching that you can grab from?
Yeah.
Like if yes, can you tell me a little bit about some of them?
Yeah, I mean, teaching, you're referring to life lessons as in general, or teaching when it comes to linguistic inputs?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you
can
learn, contextual use of words,
Yeah.
You listen to a song and you come across an idiom.
Yeah.
Something you could find in a dictionary, but then in the song, they fully portray the meaning.
Okay.
You remember the song of I don't know anything I have off the top of my head. Drake.
Yeah.
These days so I was wondering if you're bending over backwards for someone else.
You know? And then that's how you're gonna learn bending over backwards.
Okay,
of course,
bending over backwards.
Exactly. It's not formal English.
Yeah.
It's an idiom. But
That's
how,
I mean, this is exactly where I was trying to get, like, especially for somebody who is trying to learn English.
Exactly.
You know, what do you think is the right music is supposed to be exposed to? Because I mean, it feels like a lot of artists are not formal in the English, and because I heard that, you know, somebody that could say, I'm doing good, or like, you know, he's trying to put it in a way that sounds more aesthetic. For people to feel like, okay, that was a great line.
The language. It's all about living the language.
Okay.
You know, the language is not just something you observe. It's not just a subject. It's a living phenomenon. You want to experience it, and you want to embrace its plasticity and flexibility. Especially when it comes to English language. It's not linear. It's a diverse world. So I would say anything audible. As long as you listen to the song and you can clearly hear the lyrics, and it has a lot of information, because at the end of the day, we are interested in the linguistic outcome from there. So if you can get that linguistic input, it's audible. You just go for it. From rap to even rock. You know?
And this is the reason why, you know, I always tell people to expose themselves to the right teaching. Especially when it comes to something that is going to be really beneficial for your life. You know, because I feel like a lot of people, like, they impress about accents, you know, something that is okay, that's great, you know, but at the end of the day, what are you learning? What are you learning? You know, is it beneficial? Is it really impactful? Is it gonna change something? Like, you know, me, I listen to a lot of conscious rap, because from them there's a lot of expression and a lot of quotes. That's really impactful in my life. And this is what I'm talking about. Not just listening music because, you know, it sounds great, or, you know, the melody is just good, but the lyrics are really important.
I would say beyond the simple linguistic approach, you want to reach a content-based approach. You know, language is just a means of communication. It's a way for you, and it's a way for you to learn new things, real life skills, you know, wisdom in anything. And you get that a lot in rap, in anything you have there. You talked about informal English. Well, at the end of the day, if you're really observing carefully the way English is used in different parts of the world, you will notice that real life spoken English is not always very formal. Especially in the United States, you know, and many parts of the world, even in the UK. I mean, so it's all about you looking carefully at how people communicate in different settings. It's good to speak formal English, business English at work, but you're not always going to be at work. You know, and that's how even the informal language you learn in music can come in handy. So it's all about you being careful and aware of the different context, social contexts in which what you learn can be applied.
Okay, I want to talk about something. Recently, I saw a post about this artist, which was called Fally Ipupa. And somebody was saying that Fally is really a great artist. And he could have been at the level of this Nigerian artist if he was singing in English. But though, even if we don't understand what he's saying, he's singing like in his local tongue, but he still has a lot of followers, a lot of people who embrace his music. So what do you think about this?
Well, there are so many variables that come into play here. I think it's about his ability. It's more about his ability to communicate in English, and getting people from other communities around the world to identify with him as an individual, as a singer, and what he represents as a message and everything. I think it's more about that than actual English lyrics, I would say, because when you listen to music, so many people listening to these English songs can't even say or understand any single word in English.
Right.
So it's at the end of the day, it's all about the melody, it's all about the tune. But then they know, okay, well, this is Jay-Z.
Yeah.
This is Rihanna. This is right. So it's like the name, the influence they have, how they manage to maintain, to hold, to to keep this influence. It's all about their ability to be in touch with different communities around the world, and that's where English helps. But then the lyrics itself, I don't know if it's really about English. I think it's about the byproduct of communicating in English.
Yeah, Nigerian music is really trending right now.
Right.
But when you listen to your music, they really attach to the culture and they use what they call the pidgin, but it creates a lot of audience, people, they embrace. So what do you think about that related to learning English?
Yeah, I mean, listening to Nigerian music?
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to learning English, I think it wouldn't help that much if the singer is not saying any single word in English.
Yeah.
But then context, the social context in which the language is used matters. So maybe you can find yourself in Nigeria. Maybe you feel very African and Pan-African, and in some ways you want to show your identity, part of your African identity, when you express yourself in English. So some of the contextual uses and usages of the language can help. Maybe some days you want to say no wahala.
No wahala. I didn't see you.
Exactly. So are they? How far and so you even using some of the exactly. So that can help, but then you just it's all about.
I think it's
having the architecture.
Like I think it's more being like attached to the culture.
Exactly.
Because the Afrobeat is really cultural.
Right.
So I think it's not much about learning, but it's being attached to everything that is going around the country, and then get familiar to the expression they use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you want to have everything clear. You want to know what you want. You want to know what exactly the song is going to bring.
Yeah.
And but social interaction is another interesting aspect of things.
Sure.
Not just about music. Music is something. It even facilitates social interaction. It has this social interactive part of things. But what about engaging with humans?
Okay.
Real life conversation.
Real life conversation when it comes to music.
Right.
One thing I really have a hard time to deal with is people listening to my music and being like, I'm a fan of your music. Like, I mean, that's that's something I can't really wrap around my mind, because I consider somebody who likes what I do more as a family.
Right.
So a lot of people, they be like, oh, I'm a fan of your music, but I'm not really comfortable with when I hear that. They be like, buddy. And I feel like it helped me connect more with people and break that barrier of he's an artist, he's not humble and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that's pretty sensible. So, well, I would say you listen to music, this is fine. Find a way to be in touch with the language.
Yeah.
Perfect. Socialize as well and get in touch with other people. Is it true that being in touch with native speakers increases your confidence? Like you're
let's have 50-50.
50-50.
Because a lot of native speakers don't even speak good English. Yeah, so that's an aspect, and especially our French peers.
Right.
they're really impressed and they really speak about the accent.
Right.
But I mean, when you know how to speak English and you understand if somebody is speaking the wrong type of English, you'll be like, okay,
Right.
your English is nice, but you're speaking, what are you saying?
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So I automatically, like, you know, I know what's happening, you know, what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I used to do that way before when I was in high school. I remember we're not saying anything, but we try to sound like we speak English.
Right.
And people who don't understand, they were really impressed.
Yeah.
You know, but just imagine being like hanging around native speakers. You can
Yeah.
do that.
Exactly.
You can do that. You know, yeah, like, you know, especially the I call it the go for English type of English that you learn in school. Now you
Speak
find
like a
yourself like, you know, in California and you in real trouble, man.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Go for English is not helping you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it's all about how you approach language learning.
Yeah.
The theoretical approach to it is perfect. That's fine. It helps in a certain order of things, but that's not everything.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be practical, and you want to remember that you're not just going to appear over there and speak like a book. There is a social context related to your form of interacting in the language. So you want to be aware of all of these things. And well, that's what I was saying before.
But I feel like natives don't even care about that.
Exactly.
Sometimes, and we ESL people, we try so much to impress native, even if they're not even speaking good English.
Yeah.
You know.
The thing is that especially for people speaking English from a francophone background, we are very scrupulous on the use of the language and the grammar awareness and so many things. And we judge a person by their ability to use a certain level of language and so many things. That does not necessarily exist in English, or if it does, which is a reality, is probably not to the same extent. So yeah, you want to regard all these different factors, and you want to demystify this complex of communication inferiority that non-native speakers have with native speakers. You know, most of the time you know more grammar-wise than them. I mean, it's kind of striking and strong as a statement, but this is just a reality. Most of the time, if you have really studied English properly, the dedication you've put in has probably led you to more information and carefulness when using the language, at least grammar-wise, compared to some of the native speakers.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so social interaction with native speakers, that's fine because they got to correct you the same way a non-native speaker would do.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is your ability to talk to somebody who can communicate in English, and that's it.
That's right.
There will be a plus if it's a native speaker. They will have more of a cultural input. This is something that can distinguish them from non-native speakers who haven't lived in the social linguistic environment. But even in this context, it still depends on how immersed your interlocutor has been. Because we guys were raised in Ivory Coast, and we were able to increase significantly and exponentially our awareness of the American culture and the English Anglophone and Saxon as well culture as in general. So yeah, if you immerse yourself, you can get to this point. You're not necessarily going to sound perfectly native.
Yeah.
You know, this is
And a lot of people will tell me that when I speak to Africans, they tell me you sound American. And when I speak to Americans, they'll be like, you sound like you from the Caribbean.
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, no. I mean, this is a long story. You know, if you pass the critical periods, well, this is not a story. I don't know if this is we have room for this type of technical conversation. But then there is a period referred to as the critical period. A certain hypothesis whereby young age learners benefiting from brain plasticity are more inclined and more likely to make progress and even pick up an accent than adults. So, well, I mean, and by picking up an accent, I'm referring to a near or a perfectly native sounding accent. If you pass that, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So I think people shouldn't even worry about accent as such. They should be worried about pronunciation, concerned with how they sound, because communication is all about pronunciation. So that's how I see it.
And something that I'm also trying to understand is the fact that, you know, French people, they embrace English music.
Right.
You know, they try even hard to learn the lyrics.
Right.
But when I don't know if it's when they know that this is a French guy who is making English music.
Right.
They be like, oh,
critical.
They'll be critical,
Judgmental over.
Yeah, they'll be like, I mean, you a French guy. Why don't you make French music and then you make English? But you listen to English music.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some of the other nonsensical stuff, you know, complexism.
That's crazy.
What to call it? It is what it is. Well, this is such an inspiring and captivating topic.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what can be the greatest takeaway from this conversation?
Learning. Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing.
And you can learn through music.
You can learn through music.
Right.
Because I did that, so it's possible, especially for my French peers.
Exactly.
And a lot of them, they'll be like, like when they watch my stories on everywhere, they'll be like, wow, like this guy doesn't speak French, but I do speak French, you know. But you know, I'm what you can call a French guy with an English spirit, you know.
English-minded French speaker.
Yeah, that's something like
anyway,
that.
Let's wrap this up with a freestyle.
Okay.
Give me some bars.
Okay. Man, I left the building, now I'm KB. Grateful to the love, I'm trying to be the best I could be.
Remember, English is just another means of communication.
Yeah.
Relax, go for it, and find any reasonable and valuable means to be in touch with the language. It can be music, it can be even art, it can be anything that has linguistic input. That's the greatest takeaway I think you have from this conversation.
Bless.